Okay, I think we are live. I'm not sure. It's a new webcam, so I'm giving it a try and just see what happens. So, a couple of things. Firstly, it's really, really noisy. I've booked this room, not realising there was kind of like a whole load of work going on in the hotel opposite. But it's a really beautiful hotel. I'm in Thailand, and the hotel opposite is built like this beautiful gold temple. I wish I could show it to you, but it would just not on the first day of using a new webcam. I know it's just not going to happen. It would fall on the floor or something ridiculous. So you'll have to put up with me describing it to you, but it's really, really beautiful. The other thing is I am sweating. I don't know if you can see, but I've gone like super pale. I've stuck my hair up, which is like sticking to my head because it's about 100 degrees in here. So I booked this room, came upstairs in this cafe and nearly like kind of fell to pieces and thought, I'm not even going to do this today because it's so ridiculously hot. It's like 34 degrees or something outside, actually. I'll tell you what it is outside. I won't. But anyway, it's really hot. And I came in, turned the aircon on, but couldn't find the remote for ages. So I kind of had to sit here running around in like 60-degree heat. The glamour of running a digital nomad traveling coaching business. So that's what's going on, sweat and roadworks. But if you can deal with that, today I'm talking to you about how I run my business at the same time as homeschooling my 2 kids. Now, I know this is something that a lot of my followers struggle with. It's finding that time, particularly when they're really young, to actually be able to focus on both things easily and I don't like to say the word efficiently because it kind of implies like a very work and structured process, and I don't work in that way. But it's so that you have a whole fulfilled life. It's so that your kids are receiving what they need from you, and your work is receiving what it needs from you, your business and life and your purpose, and you are receiving what you need from you, which is often the area that I find most people struggling in, is that I don't want to say let ourselves go when it comes to motherhood, because that implies kind of looks today, like I'm sweating at like 100 degrees. But what I mean is it implies we let ourselves go in that kind of way that people say, oh, she's had kids, she's really let herself go since she's had kids, and I hate that. It's not that we let ourselves go, it's that we feel we don't have time to devote to all the areas that we want to flourish within, right? We struggle with that management of showing up, and this is why I believe so many marriages break down after having children, is that we don't know how to create this life that sustains all of us in every single area. And so what I'm sharing with you today is how I do create that, how I have created a really great marriage, a really great relationship with my kids. I'm natural parenting my kids, and an incredible business that makes me happy every single day. I work with my dream clients, I work with people I love, and that really is important to me. So I wanted to share how I've made that happen, not because I'm an expert or a guru, it's just I'm showing up and sharing my story for people that need to hear it. So if you're struggling with knowing how to make those things happen for you, or you're struggling with knowing how to have your kids at home with you while you run your business, right? Because I always had the girls at home with me and running my business since they were really tiny. So in fact, my business started before they were born. But so this is how I do it. Right. Just catch my breath while I feel like I'm melting. I'm just going to adjust a few things. Okay, this is where the camera pulls off. How are we doing? Yeah. Okay, cool. So the first thing that I did in order to make my dream business and life happen, and what I mean by that, I'm not talking about in a business perspective, I'm not talking about how much money I earn, I'm not talking about how I attract dream clients, guys. This is a different training. This is simply how I manage to create time and space in my life for all of the things that matter, and for you if you want to create that too. I literally can't believe how sweaty I am, by the way. I keep looking at myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just a sweaty mess, but it doesn't detract from the message, hopefully. So anyway, so the first thing was that I decided, or rather, well, it was kind of decided for me. So what happened is that I was a wedding photographer. As some of you have been following my journey now, I was a wedding photographer, and my business was doing great. And I took on this client who was a friend, kind of a friend. She was like a daughter of a friend. And I said that I'd shoot her wedding, photograph her wedding, even though it was scheduled for 2 weeks after I gave birth. I think it was like a month after I gave birth or something. But my daughter was late. She was, well, not late, she was at the right time for her, but in terms of scheduling, which I was on at the time, she was 2 weeks unexpectedly delayed in making her entrance to the world. And so I ended up photographing this wedding 2 weeks after I gave birth. And people were saying to me, you know, you're a superwoman, you're so amazing, we can't believe you're doing this. And I was like, yeah, of course, you know, like, you know, my work is my life, I love my photography, and of course I do, and I did, right? And I love my photography business, and it's where I come from, it's where I am. My education is in photography, so I carried on with that facade, if you like, that I could do everything and anything. And of course I could. I show up and I photographed the wedding 2 weeks after I gave birth. But what actually happened was, I was in a cupboard. Basically, I had to, guys, I'm sorry if there's guys watching, like the majority of my audience are female, but actually, do you know what? I'm not sorry. Guys, this is the stuff that you need to hear. I was expressing breast milk in a cupboard, and I remember, it makes me quite emotional to think about it, but I remember being in this cupboard, which was the only place available that was quiet and private at the time. It was a really old building. It didn't really have anywhere that a photographer expressing breast milk could go. And I went and shut myself away in this cupboard thinking, like, you know, I'll just express my breast milk here, as you do when you're photographing a wedding, and carry on and I'll photograph the wedding. And I was sat expressing this milk in this cupboard, and my assistant photographer was floating around somewhere. And then in the break, my husband brought my baby up for me to feed. Now, I guess by most people's expectation, that would have seemed like, wow, that's like a dream. Like you know, you're running your business, and you know, isn't that amazing? You're still spending time with your baby on the day that you're running your business, and your husband could just bring the baby to you, and you can feed the baby, and then carry on with your business and purpose. And yes, in many ways that I was thankful to be able to do that. But what struck me as I was feeding in that cupboard, this was sorry after my baby had arrived and I'd fed her, was that I was done. Like, this was not the way that I wanted to run my business. I'd been back at work a week after having my baby, being away from my baby 2 weeks after giving birth to her, and actually I was completely sick of the superwoman syndrome, where we try to do everything, right? And I didn't feel like I was falling apart, but there was just this big shift, and I was really, really teary and really emotional, and I was just, at the time, when I first got emotional, I thought to myself, you know, it's just hormones, or I've just given birth. And anyway, but it was at that point that I realized, no, this is not what I want for my life. This is my business. I get to choose how I run it. I get to choose how much time I spend with my kids. I get to choose how many days I take on. Whereas previously I'd been like, I'm going to accept every single booking that comes my way. I'm going to, you know, shoot only what I want to shoot. But, you know, but really that was something I was saying. And I was just taking on booking after booking, client after client, in an effort to build and grow my business and become known, if you like, as being this superwoman. I was very much of I already had one daughter, and I was very much of the mindset of, you know, having 2 kids doesn't mean that you can't work and you can't do and have it all. You can, but you don't have to sacrifice what you truly desire in order to do that. And for me, it was that realization that actually, I don't want to be superwoman. I don't want to be running around 24/7, like feeling stressed out and burning out because, you know, I'm prioritizing work over my kids, or, you know, not that I was doing that, but it just felt like something was about to shift for me, and it did. And I was at that point where actually I knew I wanted to spend more time with my daughters when they were small, but I still wanted the really successful business. So I went home and I journaled, and this is one of the things that I've been doing. So some of you know that I've been doing since I miscarried my first child. And it was on the day after I miscarried that I started my journaling habit. Guys, if you haven't done journaling before, this will change your life, right? So this is the number one thing that I recommend to anybody that comes to me, or my private coaching clients that come to me. They have to journal every single day. You don't have to, but if you want the stuff to work, then you need to journal, you need to process, you need to do the work. And it starts with an intentional practice every single day. talk more to you about that in a minute. So I'd made this choice, and that's the number one thing. You have to decide, actually, this isn't the life that I want anymore. I don't want to work in this way anymore. Hold on, I think I've got a little bit of a lag on my video. Let me just play around with some settings. Let's see if turning my Wi-Fi up helps. Probably should have done that to start with. Okay, this is live. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I'm getting, is it better? Hello? I'm here. I'm really flushed with the heat. Okay, so I made the decision, actually that was not the way that was going to work for me anymore, and I made the choice to actually still build successful businesses, plural, because I went on to be way more than one business, and I made the choice I was going to create the life and business that I wanted, not the way in which I believed that you have to work, which is, you know, in order to have it all, you have to have like a team of nannies, or you have to be super stressed out, or something is being sacrificed along the way. And I gave up that belief that something had to be sacrificed in order for me to be successful. That was the number one thing. I made the choice, I made the commitment, right? And it was very close to that point that I decided to honor my calling to write a book, which completely changed my business. But that isn't to say that you should write a book. This isn't about that. That was right for me. It's a calling I've had since I was little. I've always been about writing. I know my university education was in photography, but writing has always come first to me. The whole time I was at uni studying photography in my spare time, or when I didn't attend lectures, I was in tiny cafes writing out novels, like by hand. I don't know why I did it by hand. It sounds ridiculous now, but actually I still write by hand, which is really interesting. Here are my notes, written by hand. So I wrote a book, and I started to do more of the things in my business that really lit me up, that really made me happy, that really made me fulfilled. And that was where I started to follow happiness and fulfillment over success. And of course, when you follow that, success comes naturally. But I'll talk to you more about that later. Like, the first thing I want you to talk about is the different things that I put in place that enabled my business to unfold and enabled me to write my book or build my business or whatever it is at the same time as being home with my kids. So that was number one, decided. I made the decision and the commitment to honor my desire to spend more time at home with my children, and at the same time believed concretely that that didn't mean sacrifice or compromise for my business. It's such a key thing for you guys to understand if you want to have this business and life where you are at home with your kids more. So the second thing was, and this ties in with following more of the stuff that I did that lit me up and that made me really happy, was I followed this fuss-free way of working. Now, I don't like calling it like fuss-free, but basically that's what it is. But it's not like I'm branding it like fuss-free way of working, like this is my new program or something. It's just literally, it was fuss-free. Like, I hate things that are complicated. I hate things that are systemized, like somebody else's system or way of working that I have to follow, because I don't like following rules and regulations. Like most creatives, we like doing our own thing. It's part of the reason we set up in business in the first place, right? Who wants to go to work for the boss? We want to be our own boss, and we want to do things our own way, and we want to create, you know, incredible works of art and beauty and impact people's lives, you know, whatever capacity of business you're in. So I started to work without a tick list for the first time. Now, I'm someone that loves a tick list. I love planning. I love worksheets. I love things to do, right? You know, there's nothing like being at school and getting your... I'm such a nerd, but do you remember in the autumn or like in late summer, you would go with your parents and choose your pencil case and your pencils and your stationery for the upcoming like autumn term? That was always really exciting for me. I'm a real like pen and paper kind of person, and even now I get really excited when I get a new notebook. My husband bought me this one, so I was super happy. It did have princess stickers on it. Oh, it still does. Look, his bell. That's not my edition. So that's what happens when you work at home with kids who are homeschooled, right? You get bell stickers all over your notebooks. And so I got rid of the tick list. I was tired of having to feel as though I wasn't meeting, you know, my own expectations every day. Well, hello, the only person that was giving me those expectations and those things to do were me, and I had to believe that actually there were different ways of working that meant I could completely drop a tick list. And now I work very much in a way as I simply wake up every day and say to myself, well, what feels good for me to do today? And I know that sounds really simple, and I know that almost sounds like too simplistic. Like, how can I actually work and get stuff done if I wake up and say, hey, today I feel like having a massage? Well, what if that was part of your business? What if that massage led to some kind of creative spark or creative idea, or it led you to deeper thinking about a particular project or a client that you're working on, or actually it was just simply you shared on your blog or social media and inspired people that way? Like, if it was part of your brand, what then? And so this is where I could go really deep into that, but it's not the thing. But basically, I stripped away my tick list. That's the number one thing, right? A tick list often makes us feel, yeah, sometimes it feels good when we're blitzing through it, right? But let's be honest, when you're at home with kids, how often do you blitz through a tick list? Once a week? So once a week, you start to feel good because you ticked things off a list. Like, we place our value in how many things we can tick off a list, which just sounds ridiculous. For me, it was much better to be able to place my value in doing or thinking or acting in this way that made me feel good every single day, or almost every minute of every single day. Of course, nothing is perfect. Of course, my kids still, challenge in so many ways. But this was, for me, really revolutionary, to be able to sit down and just say to myself, what feels good for me today? And most of the time, it was spending focused time with my kids. So not trying to reply to client messages on email at the same time as trying to play with my kids who needed me. And I know that sounds really obvious, but how many of us do it? Like, I have to constantly remind myself now, even now, to put my phone down, turn it off, and leave it in another room and go and be with my kids. And yes, that is a commitment, and it's hard, it's not easy, but I still make that choice every single day because I'm dedicated to the outcome, which is having a healthy, sustainable, flourishing business that I love and having quality time with my kids. And to do that, I have to honor my own desires and what I really want and the outcome. And so it's, instead of multitasking, which was the superwoman syndrome, like, let's do everything all at the same time, it's no, let's strip it back and focus on what really matters. Well, what matters right now is that this 5-year-old needs my time and attention. My clients can wait. Or the other way around, if I'm protecting my work time, actually, the kids are here and they are okay, and I can sit and dedicate all this time to my clients and not look up, why is my 6-year-old going through a challenging stage? So it's really honoring those boundaries around your work time and your family time. Having said that, I'm super flexible as well. Now, so that was one of the things. So the fuss-free way of working for me is having no tick list, following the call to what feels good for me to do and be and have every single day. And the third thing was working in batches. So I would schedule work time, particularly a lot more so when they were little. And I don't mean schedule like 7 o'clock I do this, 8 o'clock I do this, 7 o'clock the kids are in bed. It doesn't work like that. Because iced coffee, because it's so hot in here, right? It's gone really not great, but it's cold, and it's what I need when I'm sweating, right? So I do love that I'm just doing a video recorded with me like sweating in a 40-degree room. But anyway, I hope that information is what you need, and you can get over that, because I'm over it anyway. Well, kind of not. The other thing is batching my calls. So not batching my calls, batching my workload. So again, in your business, you'll go through seasons, just like you do in life. So, at one point your kids might be calling to you more than your work, or actually the need to just sit and nurture yourself might be greater than anything else you feel like doing. Like, in the earliest part of this year and the last part of last year, I wrote, last year I wrote a book. And I was like, so dedicated, this book is going to get out there, this book is going to reach millions of people. I sent it out to my mailing list, which at the time was like 20,000 people, something ridiculous. Which if you followed my posts, I deleted it accidentally on purpose. My whole mailing list is gone. But that was something that was supposed to happen. But anyway, I sent it to my mailing list, and I asked for readers to come forward and have early copies, like early bird advance copies, and everyone was like, yeah, we'd love it, like let's have this book. And then all of a sudden it was like, actually, I don't feel called to put this book out into the world. It's not ready, or it's not done, or I just felt this real immediate disconnect and shift away from it, and I had to not follow through on that thing, which was a really, it was a bit of, it was a huge shift for me, because I was so ready to put it out there, and I was like, but why can I not do this? Why am I not following through on this thing that I've created? But I had to honor that thing that I felt called not to do. So you'll go through seasons, and for a season my time was spent birthing this book, and then my season completely shifted and went away from it, and I had to find out what else I needed instead, which was to refocus, reground in my purpose, and a million other things that living in a castle in France in the middle of a French winter gives you, right? So, but I think a lot of people went through this really interesting season last year and early this year as well. So anyway, the point is that I batch work. So if I'm writing my book, I will spend 2 hours a day writing my book. Or so for example, with my client coaching calls, I have them on a Thursday and Friday afternoon here in Thailand. When it was in France, it was Thursday and Friday morning. When I was photographing, I said I'll only photograph on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and anything else is going to have to fit around that. And people, of course, say, well, what about money? What if someone came along to you and said, well, our wedding is on a Friday, and we will give you X amount of money to do it? There is always like your own personal boundary, you know, that whole expression of like everything's got a price point, and you have to decide what's worth it to you. But generally, me spending time with my kids was more important than whatever people were paying me to shoot for them on a Friday afternoon. And that was a commitment that I had to honour in order to receive the outcome that I wanted, which was this freedom-based lifestyle that we live now, right? So batching is a really great way of working. Again, I used to blog posts. When I first started blogging, I would batch my blog posts. I don't do that anymore, but I do it with my podcast. So I'll sit down and record like 4 podcasts in a row, and I will upload 4 in a row, because it's just easier when you've got that time to go, cool, I'm in the headspace of doing blog posts, rather than, okay, I've done 1 blog post, okay, now I'm going to go and do this, now I'm going to go and post on social media, now I'm going to go and do this, tick, 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 which just leaves us feeling like, even talking about it is just stressful and busyness, and you have to find this kind of flow that works for you. But batching, for me, works really, really well at being efficient. Okay, the next thing, these are in no particular order, by the way, is getting myself a really great support team in place. Now, the second that I hired my first assistant, oh my gosh, like I couldn't have been more thankful. And now I don't outsource everything, because I also believe in keeping a small team. Like, I have no desire to work with 500 employees. I think that would just not be fun for me, right? And so I have at the moment a small team of 6 coaches that work under my brand. I have me, I have my assistant, and I have a Pinterest manager, and I have a managed Instagram person, account, service, something. And what else do I have? Ad hoc graphic design jobs or website building stuff that needs to be done here and there. Like, I very rarely touch, and another thing is my book cover designer. He's amazing. What else? I started out saying, yeah, I keep a really small team, and then I'm actually like, well, I've got these people and these people and these people. But they're not all used at the same time, apart from my support coaches and my associate coaches and my assistant and my Pinterest manager. But that is still a relatively small team. But I didn't start like that. I started with somebody working for me just 2 or 3 hours a week. I think it might have been 4 hours a week, but she was amazing. She answered most of my emails. She notified me if there was something in my Facebook group that needed addressing. She responded to my client queries, and even, and we are so dependent on our emails nowadays. Like, I remember before I decided to work in this way, the second that an inquiry hit my inbox, even if it was 10 o'clock at night because my clients were in the States and I was in the UK, or they were, wherever, I would rush to respond. And not only was that not valuing my time or valuing my clients' time, it was indicative that I was not in control of my business, because why would you be so reactive and so responsive if you were busy, fully booked, and in that full abundance of a wealthy, healthy business, if you're kind of rushing to respond? If you think about Richard Branson, I'm pretty sure every time an email comes in about his Virgin Airlines, he doesn't rush to respond. And I'm guessing his support team doesn't, right? I'm guessing he's not online 24/7. And you have to think the same. If you want to be, and create this healthy, wealthy life and business, then you cannot be responsive 24/7, because you're not honouring what you truly want and what you truly desire. So, your support team will help you manage that stuff for you. But please don't think you have to run out and kind of, that you'll never be able to do that, because right now you can't even afford to pay yourself, let alone a support team, which is the next question. People always say, well, my business isn't there yet, so when I'm earning a certain amount, then I will hire somebody in my business to help me. It doesn't work like that. Like my Facebook ads manager, I hired when I was earning $600 a month from my business. So my business completely shifted. Like when I moved out of photography and made a commitment to coaching, I knew my income would take a huge hit, and that was really scary for me because we have 2 children and my husband had left his job, and so I was the main breadwinner, and that was really scary. We were earning $600 a month, and I knew something had to shift. And my Facebook ads manager, who literally was a gift sent from heaven, he said to me, I'll run your Facebook ads for you. My rate is $1,500 a month. And I was like, I'm not even earning half of that to pay for my family to eat, let alone pay for your wages. But this guy, he was like one of the best Facebook ads managers around. He came super highly recommended. He worked with everybody in kind of marketing and coaching. He's just amazing and still is, and I'm so thankful for his help at that time, because he taught me so many things just about business, and it really spoke a lot to me about the importance of having like-minded people around you, or people that kind of encourage you to be the best version of yourself that you can be, which is why obviously I hugely value coaching. Although he wasn't my official coach, he certainly coached me in 1,000,001 different ways. But anyway, so I made the commitment, and I said to him, I begged, I was like, can I please just have 1 month, and I'll pay you at the end. Like, instead of paying you up front, can I pay you at the end of that month? And he said, sure. And then we spent, and luckily with Facebook ads, you also pay Facebook ads at the end of your advertising period, and mine was a month. So I had a month basically to make this work, and we spent $2,000 in ads that month, and I spent $1,500 on him. And all of that, I could feel my heart like racing, and it was that I had to keep grounding myself and writing in my journal and being like, okay, this is up leveling, it's supposed to feel uncomfortable, it does feel hard, I don't have the money, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm really terrified right now, but I'm doing it anyway, and I brought myself into alignment with this investment, and my first month return was something like $13,000 in that first month of working with him. So from there I was like, I'm so glad I took that leap. I'm so glad I made that investment. I'm so glad I made the decision to hire a team of people who knew better than me to help me, because you can't, you can do this on your own. And there are people out there who create incredible, healthy, wealthy businesses being just a one person kind of show, if you like. And Tim Ferriss, if you follow Tim Ferriss, he's great. He created a podcast that I've listened to recently. I was in the gym listening to this podcast about these people that have created these $1 million businesses pretty much on their own. I think most of them they were either a husband and wife team, or they had an assistant. I don't recall any of them being parents who homeschooled kids, right? So for me, it was important to get that team on board that could help me rise, and I hired coaches. Obviously, that was another one that I forgot to mention, but without my coaches, I would be nowhere. Okay, so that's number 3, completely lost already. Okay, the next one was protecting my journaling time. I'm not going to dwell on this one because I've already told you about journaling, and for me, that was the number 1 habit that changed my life. But guys, if you're not in the habit of journaling every single day, number 1, get on it, because it will change your life. Like, it really will, and it's the simplest, easiest, cheapest thing that you can do. Jump onto my website. There are a load of resources on there about how to journal. My next book that's coming out is about journaling. There are free journaling downloads. Like, I cannot even describe to you how great journaling is, but if you want the life that you want, you have to kind of change some way of working that's not working for you right now. Or maybe it is working for you, but you want more of something or less of something else or whatever. And whenever I do that, because of course there's still levels that I want to get to, there's still things that I want to happen in my life, there's still things that I want less of or more of or whatever, I go straight to my journal. And I do that every single day to ground myself in the energy of what I wanted. And in fact, today's training, right, this webinar or whatever it's going to be, training, Facebook video, whatever, I'm not sure, came about because I was journaling. That's what this is. And actually, I was journaling about my new program, and I wrote up this whole webinar, and I was just like, this just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound me. It doesn't sound authentic. What do I actually want to talk about? And then this came up, and I was like, actually, these are the questions I get asked all the time is, How do you work with all these kind of pulls at your time? So this is where this webinar came from. It came from simply deciding today that this would feel really good for me to do as a result of me journaling. So journaling and protecting that time every single day. Now this is so hard when you have really tiny kids, but also when you have really tiny kids, they sleep. Or supposed to, kind of. Mine didn't. My first one did. She slept like an angel. The second one, no, she did not sleep ever. Still isn't great. You know, we were up at 6:10 this morning together. Fine. And I'm not a morning person, so not fine. But anyway, you know, as fine as it could be. I wouldn't change it in the whole world. Maybe a bit more sleep, but that's it. And yeah, and so it is difficult, but there are always these pockets of time that you can carve out. Like sometimes I would journal on my phone in the supermarket queue. I remember doing that so many times. I've journaled in like in the bathroom, on the toilet, yeah, in my notes section. I'm laughing. It's like whatever it takes to pull out and carve that time, which is for you and your own headspace, for you to just sit in peace for 5 minutes. Take it, like claim it. And eventually what happened was I worked with my husband, not as in worked side by side, although we tried that for 3 months, but that wasn't happening. He now runs his own business, but at the time he was working from 6 o'clock in the morning. He would leave at 6 a.m. and he would come home at 6 o'clock at night. And as soon as he got in, I would literally throw the babies on him and be like, hi, hope you had a great day. I'm going to journal now. And, you know, it wasn't the ideal time for me. I like to journal in the morning. I find I get more done, but it was literally me carving out that time and space for myself. I would be gone for like half an hour, and then I would go to work afterwards, right? I'd come down, spend time with him, put the girls to bed, and then work on my business. And, but over time that evolved, and I actually manifested my husband leaving his job, which was the best thing ever. But to start with, for those of you who don't have a spouse that is, or even a partner, or perhaps you don't have anyone, perhaps it's just you and your kids, or maybe just you, right? Thinking about kids one day, and wondering if it's actually possible to work and have kids. It's completely possible. It's just finding these pockets of time and carving them out and committing to protecting them because you're committed to the long-term outcome. So protect your journaling time, because it's like, the only way I can describe it is like, is meditation, but in written form. So I really struggle to meditate. I get a bit distracted. And it's kind of like I need to pour everything out and put it on a page. That said, journaling it's not like Dear Diary, when I was 13, this happened in my life. It's a much more intentional process than that. It's like holding a mirror to yourself. So like I said, if you're not journaling and you want to create a habit, hop on over to www.work+revolution.com and I'll share some stuff with you there. The final thing, I committed to a freedom-based education for my kids. Not necessarily for me, but because it was best for all of us, but I believe it's especially best for my kids. For those of you that don't know, I was a teacher in secondary schools, and what I witnessed there made me realize that I did not want to put my children into the formal education system. Not that there is anything wrong with that. Like, guys, I'm not saying your choice is wrong for your children, right? I would never say that, because we do what we feel called to or what we feel is right. But for me, having come from working in teaching, there was too much political stuff going on that I felt within the 2 schools that I worked in was directly impacting the quality of education. I also felt that schools hadn't quite caught up with how quickly the world has moved from a perspective of the technology and entrepreneurial and spiritual even world that we now inhabit. And I felt that some of the practices and some of even the kind of 9 to 5 timetable, or 9 to 3 or 9 to 4, was very reflective of outdated work habits, and that wasn't the environment that I wanted to raise my children in. So we kind of knew from the start. Basically, I'm a hippie earth mama. Yeah, I'm one of those. But what that has led to as a result is us being able to travel around the world and live where we want. So we lived in a multi-million euro villa in Cyprus. We lived in a chateau in France for almost a year, and now we're here in Thailand. Possibly New Zealand next after this, and then after that, I have an idea, but I'll talk to you about that another time. And along with that came and we had to relax into it. It wasn't like something that happened automatically. It's if you're not used to having children at home, which I wasn't, and to be honest, I never even wanted children before I had them, right? And I always kind of thought I would be one of those people who just wouldn't have children, and now I have them. It's obviously like the best thing ever. And I genuinely believe that. Like, I know some people say that and they're like, yeah, okay, I roll. But for me, being a mother is, I don't know, it's a blessing and a gift, and they are my biggest teachers. Like, my work would be so radically different without them, and they teach me so much about nature and connection and spirit and soul and source and energy and mindfulness and just so many lessons that I get to share with my clients, and it's just part of me, and I can't imagine my life any differently now. I'm sure every parent says that, but maybe not with the same enthusiasm, I don't know. But perhaps it's learning to reframe anything that you feel restricts you that makes a difference. And so in terms of raising them in a very freedom-based way, we don't have any set routine. So it's not like we get up at this time and then we have breakfast and then we do X, Y, Z. Okay, so guys, just hold on 1 second because my battery is dying. Forgot to plug you in. Hold on. So I'm just going to keep talking while I record because why not? So yeah, we live this really freedom-based life where we don't have any particular routine or structure in place. Generally, I work Thursdays and Fridays in the afternoon because that's when my client appointments are. But other than that, we tend to work around that because that's the time that I decided suits me. I very often, not frequently, but I'm happy to change my times if for some reason they stop working. Or, for example, my girls, I don't know, really wanted some sort of super cool thing to do on a Thursday and Friday afternoon. I would just simply change my times of my calls. But other than that, it's like on Tuesday we woke up and Rob was like, I really feel like doing something. Should we do something today? And we already had stuff planned that day, and I was like, well, what about tomorrow? So the next day we just woke up and went to a dinosaur park simply because that's what we felt like doing that day. So it wasn't like, but like the one thing I never compromise or sacrifice is my journaling. But other than that, we're so flexible. We really try to go with the rhythm of the day. So we kind of wake with the sun. The girls almost go to bed with the sun. At the moment, they love watching the city light up at night. So we kind of wait for that around twilight time. And then they go to sleep. But there's no real structure. It's not like I sit them down and do lessons or we have a plan. I don't have any plan for their education. It's simply, if I see something I think they'll be interested in. At the moment, the other day I bought this book about traveling around the world and how to teach your children about meaningful travel, which was great, and about how to travel consciously and about how to process their emotions about traveling. The girls process it in very different ways to us. They are really attached and rooted to where they come from. So for Istria, she misses England so much because she spent more time there. Selma really misses Cyprus, and I think pretty much she's Cypriot at heart because even now, we haven't been in Cyprus for over a year, but she still cries for Cyprus. And so this book was about how to process their feelings and emotions as basically digital nomad children. And it was great, but I saw that, thought, yeah, let's get this for the girls. And it's no more complicated or difficult than that. And people say, well, how do you make sure they're going to pass tests or get a good quality of education? Guys, you know your child better than any teacher, like you really do. And you know how to encourage and bring them on. But a lot of the time we lack that trust in ourselves. So many people say to me, I don't know if I could homeschool. Hey, guess what? I didn't think I'd have kids, let alone homeschool. I was a proper traditional, my kids will be in bed at a certain time. And, I'll be disciplining my kids in a certain way. And I'm going to use time out. And, I was just, and I confess, completely confess, I literally thought breastfeeding was disgusting. Right, I literally thought I was like, there's no way I'm breastfeeding my children, they can just go straight on the bottle. I laugh now because my 5-year-old is pretty much ending weaning now. Okay, so she's just turned 5, and I know that sounds super weird to most of you. Trust me, it did to me as well, but I was like, well, maybe it offers some protection against mosquitoes, whatever. But like I say, I was not this natural homeschooling attachment parenting person at all. I was the complete opposite. but it takes a real reframe of what you believe and actually what feels good and what feels comfortable. Well, did it feel good and comfortable for me to carry on breastfeeding? Did it feel good and comfortable for me to not have to provide structured, again, tick lists of work for my kids to do? What felt good to them? How were they flourishing? Well, they were flourishing when I was giving them things that they love to do. So we give them clay, or, we get them involved in the cooking, or we, teach them to pay when they go into a shop, and that's how they learn maths. And you immerse them into real world scenarios, and that's the way that they learn best, I think, is not when they're sat kind of learning in a classroom-based environment, which is a representation of the world. It's actually being out in the world. And people say, well, aren't they going to grow up sheltered or not, being able to socialize with other kids? And it's like, if you see my girls, they have no problem socializing. They have no problems making friends with people of all ages. They are communicative. They are intelligent. My 6-year-old is teaching herself to read, and now it's amazing to see her. I've given her no formal tuition whatsoever other than some kind of busy workbooks that she likes to do. And she sits down with a book and reads it to herself, and there's been no pressure on, you have to learn this. Instead, we sit and read the Chronicles of Narnia at bedtime together, and they love that. It's not picture book, it's just imagination-based. And, they make up their own stories all day. And anyway, so it's a very free and natural way, I believe, to parent your kids. I'm not saying that my way is the right way. I'm not a parenting expert. I've been very lucky in that I have had teaching experience, but it's not necessary. I've also come across some incredible Waldorf Steiner teachers who the girls spent a year with, which was, not as in lived with, as in they went to a Waldorf Steiner school. And I learned some incredible natural parenting techniques from that, which have helped me raise calm, happy, confident kids. But that basically, being able to do that really has empowered me to create a business and lifestyle that is free and is easy. And, if my daughter decides that, actually, I need mommy at home today, you know what, I stay at home because actually she needs me more than my work. There might be something that is a work commitment that I prioritize, but actually if she needs me, she needs me, and she's my priority. And so having that freedom and that flexibility means that you are able to create and do the things that you love, which for me is spending time with my family. So the last thing is minimal systems and processes. In my business, like I said at the very beginning, I've kept everything super simple. Like I've learned the second I try to make it complicated and try to set up funnels and try to set up like perfect webinars, if I'd have waited till this room was perfect, you certainly wouldn't have like mango snow in the background with me sweating and my hair sticking up. It's just, well, what can we do to make it easy? What can we do to make this business simple and run efficiently and in the way that it needs to, and reach and impact as many people as possible, because that is my purpose and that is my mission. And the same as you have purpose and you have mission within your business, whatever it is, it's, well, how can I make this as easy as possible? And for most of us, it's not, I need to set up this very particular funnel with 12 different moving parts, and I need somebody to manage my email campaign because it's so complicated I don't even know how to use it. And it's not writing this great big long sales page. It's, well, what feels really easy and good for you to do? So for me, creating this feels easy and good, like, because that's what my journal told me to do today. Is I plug in my little camera, I sit down and I talk to you about what happens, and this is it. This is me running my business. It doesn't get any more complicated. I might put it as a post and boost it on Facebook. I might stick it on my website, to be honest. I don't even know where it's going. I just know that that's what I felt called to do. I'll journal later on, okay, what do I do with this thing? But that's genuinely how I run my business. And it's been like that since I first implemented this in my photography business, when my client scheduling was just getting all over the place. Like one day I'd have an appointment here, that was a meeting, the other day I'd have a client chat here on Skype, the other day I'd be shooting over here, and it was all kind of random and all over the place, and I just kind of always felt like I was losing my mind. Journaling would have helped with that, but that wasn't what I was journaling on at the time, right? I was journaling in a slightly different way. It's kind of evolved to where it is now. So I implemented a scheduler into my system, a really easy scheduling tool where people could I'd literally got my assistant to email out the scheduler, my client would book in, and I deliberately already designed when I was available. So they were then available on my terms, and if that one didn't suit them, they could pick another one. Whereas previously, they were saying to me, oh, this is when we're available, can you do this time? And I was kind of running around on their schedules. Actually, I had to empower myself to understand that they were coming to me for my creative talents. I was a leader. I was, you know, as in I was leading them, not as in like I was the world's best photographer or photography guru or anything like that. It was just simply, how can I be the leader in my own life here? Like, I don't want to be dependent on someone else's schedules. If they're coming to me for my work, well, then they need to work with when I'm available and free. And that's not kind of egotistical in any way. It's just simply, well, I can serve people better if I'm not scattered and all over the place and unstreamlined. So a scheduler, for example, is one of the things that I put in place in order to keep my workflow minimal and simple and moving without me having to, you know, do 1,000,001 things. So that's the final thing that I wanted to talk to you about. And of course, what that did was then freed up my time to spend more time with my kids at home, which meant that they got more attention and my business got the attention that it needed without me having to kind of be the, I hate this expression, but be the bottleneck in my business. It's like, we are the ones that hold our business back. We are the ones that stop ourselves moving into greater wealth, greater fulfillment, greater purpose, greater impact. We stop ourselves because either we just don't know how to see opportunity, or we're so disconnected from ourselves, our bodies, our environment, and what our kids or what we need that we don't really understand what is possible for us. Like, maybe we dare to believe it, but actually acting on it is a very different thing. That's why I recommend journaling, guys. Okay. Before I melt into a puddle, I think I'm going to go downstairs in a minute and just like chuck a bucket of ice cubes over my head. That's it. So that is how, and I know I've really skimmed over it. I'm amazed. This is 45 minutes long. Normally, my sessions are like 2 hours, an hour. Not as in my, as like my webinars previously have always been like way over an hour. So I know I've kind of probably skimmed over this, but the intention is that you understand that you can create a business and life that works however you want it to, no matter what business you are in. This all started in my photography business. Before that, I was running my successful hair accessory company, which I actually closed down because I didn't feel I had the energy or the resources to take it to the next level. What I didn't know was that I simply didn't understand how to do it without basically destroying myself and my family in the process. And so for me, it wasn't worth it. So yes, it was super successful, and it was literally the next level up. So it hit 6 figures, and then the next level up after that would have been the $1 billion target. And for me, it was just like, oh, it's too big, I can't do it. Like, I'm already stretched, I'm at capacity, I've got people working for me, I have my family working for me. Like, my sister-in-law was coming in helping me make the accessories. She would get on a train 3 days a week and come and help me. She would take them home and work. I was paying her, obviously, it wasn't like a free thing, taking up all her time. And then my mum and stepdad, they were doing my postage and packaging for me. So I would every week send them 1 big box of parcels, which then they would ship out all over the world. And it was like, I didn't know where to go from there. And I felt so stuck and so restricted because I knew that my business needed more of me, and at the time I didn't know how to do it. And so these things that I'm sharing with you today, this has been stuff that has evolved since then, and it came about through my photography business, guys. So this is, you can see how this stuff isn't like unique to coaching. Please don't think that, oh, well, she can do this because she's a coach. I would be doing the exact same thing, and I did the exact same thing as a photographer. I would be doing the same in any other capacity in which I work for myself now that I understand it. As it happens, I am here as a coach, and this enables me to share this stuff with you. But you don't have to continue to work in struggle where you feel time-strapped, but it does take a shift of your commitments, a shift of your understanding, a shift in your belief of what is required to actually make things happen for you, and a shift in your commitment to working in different ways. So I hope all this stuff has been useful. You can see how like pink I am. But my new coaching program is open. So if you want to have my support one-on-one by your side, and the support of my incredible associate coaches, plus my intensive 9-month rebirth transformation program, I'd love to hear from you. Just simply send me a message. I think my camera froze then, but it's fine. It's all good. Send me a message on Facebook or reply to charlie@charliekbs.com. I think I'm just freezing now every 5 minutes. I hope this is working. But yeah, why does it do this right at the last minute? Again, this is what happens when you're completely unscripted, you haven't practiced. Guys. Okay, so I was saying, if you want my support, you want the support of my incredible associate coaches, email me charlie@charliekbs.com, or just add me on Facebook. I'll send me a private message and I'll give you further details. But this has been amazing to share with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying throughout the whole thing. If you've got any questions, please do message me, because I'm here to help you. If I can't help you, one of my associate coaches will send you a message. Questions about anything that I've talked about, leave a message on Facebook, wherever it is. I'm here to help support you. I'm committed to your growth, and it has been a blessing to talk to you. Bye.